Rachel. What's happening?
How are you guys?
Man, we are great. Thanks so much for joining us. We're talking about your team's offensive struggles. You would think they were 0-2 right now. They're obviously not. But what do you see? Like we tapped in with the Denver market today, and well, there's a lot of talk about Nathaniel Hackett already. What's going on with the Denver offense so far?
He is the joke of what seems like the National Football League right now. But you guys, I truthfully believe they're this close to kind of cracking in. There's just been like everything that's gone wrong. We'll go back to week 1 in Seattle. Everything that possibly could have gone wrong went wrong for them. And it just feels like that's been kind of a constant where, what are the odds that Russell Wilson's going to hit a defender's helmet and then you're going to miss a wide open Javonte Williams in the end zone and you don't get a touchdown there and then you don't score at all. What are the odds going back to week 1 that you have 2 times on the 1 yard line and you fumble? There's just all of these like little things that I think eventually they're going to click and this team's not going to have to worry about it. Again, Eric Tomlinson in the end zone, this much, you guys, he was out of bounds. So I just think it's eventually going to click. So I'm not trying to get on the panic train too much. I think it'll eventually click, but right now, it's just not adding up, and people are in a panic. Broncos country, it's not acceptable to beat the Houston Texans 16-9. That's not acceptable here, so people are not happy.
Understandable for sure. I, like you, Rachel, I think that they're going to figure it out at some point. Like I said before you came on, I just hope it's not week 3. But do you think it's more Russell Wilson trying to get adjusted to everything that he's doing here in Denver, or is it Nathaniel Hackett? Just, man, 3rd head coaching game of his career. Is he trying to figure some things out? Because from the outside looking in, there's been a couple of times, obviously, at the end of the Seahawks game, but then I was watching the game against the Texans where he looked a little unsure of himself about the situation. And is it him just trying to get his reps down and get comfortable to being the head guy now? Is that some of the reason as well why they're struggling on offense?
Honestly, I don't know who you put the blame on. Nathaniel Hackett's been open and honest. That there's been times where he wishes he was ahead of the next play and not kind of having to focus on the play currently at hand. And there's been communication issues where they're not getting the play off fast enough and such. And those we've obviously seen a lot of that. With Russell Wilson, I think he's played fine. I think there's been a couple instances where we've heard about, some of the issues he had in Seattle where he's not that super tall. He's not that 6'5" quarterback that you're going to see out there. I pointed out the example earlier of him hitting the defender's helmet and then missing a wide open touchdown to Javonte Williams. Like we're hearing some of those things, but I think eventually personally, I don't think Russell Wilson has played bad. I don't think you can put all of the blame, but I think the blame is being put on him because of the expectations that he brought to the Broncos. If we had Drew Lock here as the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, the expectations that this team would be a playoff team would not be around. So I think he gets a lot of the blame, but I don't particularly think it's his play, and that's the reason that the offense is struggling. I personally think that if they would have got some of these nerves out maybe or adjustments out during the preseason, it would look a little bit cleaner too, but they chose not to. They chose to try and stay healthy, and it didn't honestly work because now we're out with Jerry Jeudy. We're not sure if he's going to play. Pat Surtain, we're not sure if they're going to play. Justin Simmons goes on the IR. It didn't really work out the way Nathaniel Hackett was hoping.
Don't tell Kenny it's not Russell Wilson's fault. He doesn't want to believe that.
I'm terrified. The guy just destroyed my Niners for a decade straight. And now, he gets out of the division. And guess what? We get to see him week 3. I don't want nothing to do with Russell Wilson. I'm terrified.
I'm terrified of the 49ers. I'm terrified of Jimmy G coming in here. So
that's funny. I was going to ask you that question. Did you get more nervous? Or you know what I mean? Like as a fan base, did the fan base get more nervous when it was Jimmy G versus Trey?
Oh, yeah, I would much rather. We thought that if Trey Lance was going to come in here with this offense, we were like, all right, we don't have to worry. The Broncos will get it together. You'll kind of look at them, not exactly to the level of the Houston Texans, but a little bit above the Houston Texans. Now with Jimmy G coming in, you're like, oh, this team could go out there and win the Super Bowl. So it kind of leaves a bunch of questions too for in San Francisco where you're like, why are you going with the younger quarterback when you've got the backup who's taken you to the NFC Championship? But that was their decision. They went with it. Obviously, prayers up for Trey Lance because of that ankle. But yeah, I'm much more terrified of what Jimmy G is capable of doing than I was Trey Lance.
Well, speaking of who Jimmy G is going to face, is going to be that Broncos defense. And while the offense has left something to be desired, in the first 2 weeks. Seems like the defense has been solid. They've been doing their job. They've been doing what was expected of them coming into the season. Is that kind of the way they're looking at it out there as well? It's like the defense is straight. If we could just get this offense to go, now we can take off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's been a lot of hype on what Everett has been able to do with this defense. And, in previous years, they've been good, but I think they've taken this next level. And with some of the additions that they've added on, Randy Gregory being one of them, there's a lot of really talented named DJ Jones too, that it will definitely help this defense continue to go to the next level. But they're the only reason I don't think Broncos country is in complete panic, because they've been able to do a really nice job of stopping the offenses, even though they're still 1-1. Like, they shut out Geno Smith, where he had pretty much a Super Bowl game, right? His stats were incredible week 1 from Geno Smith, but then in the second half, they were able to stop him completely. So Broncos country is relying heavily on this defense, but they are ready to see the offense get rolling.
Is this team close? Like, there's been talk for years. Denver's right. They're a quarterback away. Well, you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback now. Like, is this team right there?
I really want to believe so, you guys, but I don't know. I would never have guessed that this would be what we were talking about, and Russell Wilson's looking fine, but the offense is horrible. That was never what anyone thought when we heard Russell Wilson was coming to the Broncos this spring. So you hope, but you also kind of hope what everyone talked about in Seattle isn't true with what Russell Wilson has become. So I don't know. I really, really want to say so, because I want, the excitement to be back in Denver. I was here when they won the Super Bowl too, so it was so exciting. Like, it was just crazy. So you really hope so, but you don't know with what you've seen out on the field so far.
Is there anybody who, when that trade went down out there in Denver, was there anybody that was like, yo, that's too much for Russell Wilson? Like, I've had this thing where obviously I'm terrified of him because of what he did to the Niners. We talk about that. But I also, because he was with the Seahawks and, they've been a competitor for so long, I'd watch Russell Wilson his entire career. And I watched him the last couple years, and the numbers were there, but it felt like there was something missing. He hadn't been playing. There was a signs of a slowdown kind of going on with him the last 2-3 years, even though he had these crazy numbers. And was there anybody in Denver who was like, we gave up a lot for a guy that, for a lack of a better term, is on the back 9 of his career right now? Like, was there any thought of that, or was it all just, we got the guy that we needed and now we're ready to take off?
There were questions because of what we heard from the Seattle media, I think, but would you rather have Russell Wilson or Drew Lock as your quarterback? Would you rather have Russell Wilson or Teddy Bridgewater? We've seen what the other two are capable of. It wasn't pretty here in Denver, so you just kind of have to ride the hope. I don't mean to make the let's ride pun there, but you kind of have to ride it and hope that Russell Wilson can be the quarterback and be better than the other two that you had the option of getting. So I think most people were like, all right, here we go. This is finally our chance. Going back to the last question of, we were just hoping to get a quarterback and then this team would be ready to go. So I don't think anybody really panicked. It was funny because that day was the day we found out that Aaron Rodgers didn't want to come to Denver. And that morning, everyone was like, oh my gosh, he's staying in Green Bay. We're in the same situation again. Here we go, a quarterback battle. Who's it going to be this year with Drew Lock? What other quarterback are they going to bring in? And then it just exploded all over. And Adam Schefter tweeted out Russell Wilson's being traded to Denver Broncos. And it was just a madhouse. But I don't think really anybody was disappointed or worried about that. You're just kind of hopeful that that's not the case.
104.3 The Fan in Denver. I'm always so curious with stuff like this because I know how we are. Have y'all talked about the Nuggets like at all?
Yes, Jamal Murray has been a discussion because he didn't play at the end of the season and into the playoffs last year. MPJ, what the heck is happening with his back? People still have questions. Jokic being back-to-back, why he's not getting any of the credit he deserves. So we talk about him. It's just, I think a lot of Nuggets Nation feels the disrespect from national media about the Nuggets, so it can be kind of a tough subject.
Interesting. Of course, we've earned our disrespect. So
I was gonna say,
it's a little bit different, but I'm always so I know how big the Broncos are out there, and the Nuggets are obviously really, really good. People have really high expectations for the Denver Nuggets because Jamal's back, and it's a two-time MVP. You got Jamal Murray coming back, and how does that factor into what you guys do? I'm always so curious about stuff like that in really big football cities like Denver.
You also can't forget we got the Stanley Cup champions and the
Yeah,
Colorado
the Stanley
Avalanche,
Cup
you guys.
champions.
Training camp starts tomorrow, so don't forget about them. It's
that
a good
was
time to be in Denver.
That was super easy for me to forget.
Yeah, because we ain't seen a hockey game out here, and I don't know how long.
That just means you guys need to come out to Colorado, you guys. It is
No, I would do
so
that.
much fun.
I would
So
do
much
that. It looks like you guys have a good time. I will say this though, Rachel. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like where it's at and who's bigger, Colorado or Colorado State. I don't know, but I do know Sacramento State is coming to Colorado State this Saturday. Be on alert for upset alert. The Sac State Hornets, they go pretty hard out here. Be on alert.
I am a Colorado State alum, and I have zero faith in that football program, so I will take Sac State. It's funny, actually, because of baseball, but I used to work for the Western Athletic Conference, which Sac State was their baseball program was in the WAC. So I'm very familiar. But, yeah, I would take Sacramento State over CSU in a heartbeat because they look really, really tough.
She with us.
She with
us. Rachel with us. We appreciate you, Rachel. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.